You're listening to an Anderson Entertainment production.
This episode.
Oh, we're flying low in Fab Facts.
Gordon Bennett, we're only off to Paris for the randomiser.
And it's time for part 2 of our interview with Ben, expert in his field.
Oh, so he is, I suppose. That's all coming up in Pod 182.
Of the Gerry Anderson podcast.
This is Christmas Control. Stand by. Let's go.
Spectrum is green.
The Gerry Anderson Podcast with Jamie Anderson and Richard James.
Expert in his field.
Yes, I like that. It's clever, isn't it? I didn't write it, just said it.
No. Ben Page wrote it. I don't know. Ben, writer of the page.
Yeah, that's right. That's good.
Yeah, that's not so good. Anyway, look, my name is Jamie Anderson.
That makes sense.
Yes,
yeah.
I'm here because my late father is Gerry Anderson, and we're here to talk about all things Gerry Anderson, hence it's been called the Gerry Anderson Podcast. But I'm very pleased to be joined by the other voice you can hear right now.
Yes.
Who are you, other
That's
voice?
Me. Well, I'm Richard James, and I'm here because I was asked.
You were asked
actually,
many years ago.
I was told.
No, you were asked.
In no uncertain terms.
You were asked.
That's true. All right.
And you said, all right, then if I have to.
Yeah, I suppose I might as well.
And it's that enthusiasm that has carried us through 181 previous podcasts to this one here.
Is it really 182?
It is 182, yes.
Wow.
Yes, I was going to try and make a Blink 182 reference
yes,
there.
I was thinking as well, yes.
Yeah, to blink and you'll miss it, or in the blink of an
good.
eye.
Yes, let's go with that.
182.
That's all good. Yeah, great. I like it.
Dear, oh dear. Well, look, my poor wordplay has embarrassed poor Chris Dale, who sat over there with actually nothing to do today. He's just got his arms folded.
He's looking very restless, isn't he?
Yeah, looking embarrassed on my behalf.
Yes.
And
slightly impatient to get on with the show, I think.
Yeah, okay. Well, all right. Sorry, Chris. I mean, normally you've got all these industrious things you get on with, but we'll today just get on with the show. And later, yes, all right, Chris. He's giving me stink eye now. Chris will be here later on. He is the randomizer, and he'll be doing the randomizer, where he chooses a random Gerry Anderson episode and tells you all sorts of things about it. But there are many other things in this podcast, and my co-host Richard James will now describe those things.
Oh, okay. Well, for example, we'll be hearing from our lovely Podsterons, that's you out there in the real world, who've been emailing us in at podcast@gerryanderson.com. You've been posting on our Facebook group, that's facebook.com/group/Podsterons, and you've been hashtagging us on Twitter, Richard N. James, I'm Jamie Anderson, Chris Dalek, and you've been posting on our YouTube channel. I'll be bundling all those into a big sack and reading a few of them out a little later on. We've also got some Gerry Anderson news, of course, because as we know, there's always something happening in the Gerry Anderson universe. We've got Fab Facts coming up in just a little while. Yay. We've got the second part of your interview, Jamie, with Ben Field.
We absolutely do. Yes, part 2 of 3. Ben, the director-producer of Gerry Anderson, Life Uncharted, a fantastic documentary all about Dad. Some amazing findings in there. It's going to change your perspective on all things Gerry Anderson forever, but I think in a really lovely way. And Ben will be telling you more about that in the interview in a little bit.
Fantastic. All that, and of course, as the aforementioned randomizer will be along a little later on. Plus, not 1, but 2 emails from Phil Steer.
Oh, well, we are in for a treat, and that hails this being a Phil Steer podcast.
Oh, there we are. Fair enough.
Yes,
dedicated to Phil.
Yeah, always. You and I pretty much are dedicated to Phil, I think.
Yes, very much so.
So thanks, Phil Steer. Now, as exciting as it is to be doing a Phil Steer podcast, I suggest very strongly that we do a Fab Fact.
Oh, I think it's the least we can do.
Okay.
No, actually, I think it's the most we can do.
All right, fine. Well, let's do the most. Here it is.
Now, time for this week's Fab Facts.
Rich James.
Yes.
Momentarily, you'll be shouting Fab. Because I will be flicking through a book of Fab Facts.
Yes.
Which contains some Fab Facts. And when you shout Fab, I will stop flicking.
Okay.
That will land us on a random page, and on that random page, we hope will be a fab fact. Are you clear on the rules?
Yeah, simple.
Don't need me to re-explain them once again?
It's easy. Go on, I'll busk it.
All right, okay, prepare to busk or fab. Here we go.
Fab!
Oh.
What?
Okay.
Yeah?
Late 1960s here. This is good.
Right.
We love a bit late 1960s.
Yeah.
Now, Richard, as an intergalactic police officer yourself,
yes.
you have in your time
known.
apprehended several baddies when you were in the rather famous Gerry Anderson series Space Precinct.
I was in that, that's true, yeah.
But, Richard, or should I say Officer Orin, did you ever arrest any renegade filmmakers?
During the course of the programme, a snake, I remember.
Ah, but he didn't make a film, did he?
No, he didn't know. So I guess the answer's no.
Okay, well, you'll enjoy this in that case. Believe it or not...
Will I, though?
Yeah, yes, you will. Believe it or not, during production of the second Thunderbirds film, Thunderbird 6,
right,
a sequence of events unfolded that ended up with Century 21 production manager Norman Foster being taken to court.
What?
Naughty. Specifically, this involved the live-action scene of Alan Tracy's Tiger Moth flying under a bridge on the newly completed M40 motorway near the end of the film.
Oh, yes.
The law required that in order to film such a stunt, the pilot would have to keep the aircraft's wheels on the ground as it passed under the bridge. And the pilot in question, Joan Hughes, had no intention of breaking that law when she took to the skies for the day's filming.
Yeah.
However, during one attempt at the stunt, a sudden crosswind blew up, which meant that she unfortunately had to break it because to land would have risked her losing control of the aircraft altogether.
Right.
Remember, there were dummies representing Brains, Alan, Tintin and Parker strapped to the plane, so its weight distribution would have already been a little off balance. So from her perspective, it was much safer to stay in the air than risk being blown off the road and crashing, because that would have been terrible.
All right, yeah.
Unfortunately, the Department of Transport did not see it that way. Hughes was charged with 7 counts of dangerous flying.
What?
And Foster with 3 counts of aiding and abetting. The jury spent 2.5 days deliberating the case, but luckily the production was able to provide some pretty strong evidence in their defence.
Yeah.
Namely, all the footage they'd shot of the flight and the stunt in question, shot from multiple angles.
Well.
So thankfully, in the end, Norman Foster and Joan Hughes were both acquitted in March 1968, without a blemish on their records. And the law-breaking stunt appears in the finished film, and is noticeably a far more exciting shot than the several of the Tiger Moth going under the bridge while touching the road. So, there we go.
Right, okay.
Even more exciting than anything in Thunderbird 6, however, is the real-life Joan Hughes herself. A pilot from the age of 15, she was the youngest of the first 8 women accepted into the Air Transport Auxiliary at the start of the Second World War, and then spent the war as a ferry pilot, which involved ferrying aircraft around the country. Everything from Tiger Moths to Lancaster bombers.
Wow. Now there's a story.
Yeah, so Joan Hughes is a bit of a Joan Tracy, I'd say.
You're absolutely right.
Impressive stuff.
How interesting. I wonder what bridge that was. Do you know specifically?
So actually, weirdly, recently as part of the prep work for the documentary, we have recovered some old archive tape of Bob Bell stood under the motorway bridge in question,
right,
telling the story of how it all happened.
Oh, God.
However,
in the motorway?
Well, next to the motorway.
I hope they picked a quiet night. Oh, right.
Well, no, that's the problem, you see. It was not quiet. And seconds after the sound hits speed, something stops working. And then Bob does an 8-minute interview about it, and you can't hear a word he says.
Oh no! What a shame.
Which is rather a shame. Very sad.
Yes.
We might try lip reading it, but it's pretty tough because it's an SD from an old pneumatic tape.
Oh dear.
So there we are.
Where was it on the M40? I want to know, because I have a bridge in mind shortly before Junction 16, which is where it joins the M25.
Ooh. Yeah, I don't know my M40 junctions well enough, but somebody out there will know.
Yeah, of course they will.
I'm more of an M4 man myself.
Who are you?
Yes, I am. So yes, if you do know which bridge it was, Podsteron's email us, podcast@gerryanderson.com. And also, if you know of any other law breaking that took place in an Anderson series or connected to it, I'd love to know that too. Same email address. Unless you've got anything else to add about yourself breaking any laws during Space Precinct shooting, Richard James?
Nothing I'm happy to divulge here, no.
Okay, nothing on the record. Fair enough. See me afterwards, and I'd love to hear. Until then, though, that is the end of this week's...
Criminal Fact!
Oh, Criminal Flight Fact is pretty right.
Oh, yes.
So, yeah.
Put it all together, yes. Now, you forgive me if I'm moving around a bit during this next section, but I've got cramp in my left leg. So
I did hear some strange sounds there.
I know, yeah, but I'm being very brave. Now, over in our email bag, we've had a bumper crop this week sent into podcast@gerryanderson.com. Would you like to hear some of them?
I'm all right, actually. Let's move straight on to the...
Okay.
No. Of course I want to hear them. Yes. I would love to hear them.
Well, especially, of course, because these are from Phil Steer. Phil says, Dear all, can I be the umpteenth person to tell you that one of the houses, the water tower, featured in the first episode of Grand Design's House of the Year, was inspired by Thunderbirds?
Yes.
I think specifically it was Thunderbird 1, wasn't it? Or it looked rather like a sort of launch tower.
Yeah, somebody... Who messaged me? Oh, yes, my friend Alison.
Ah, yes, because it was a water tower. And
couple said their home inspired by Thunderbirds. There you
exactly, yeah. There you go. Phil also then says a belated message to say that I greatly enjoyed 4 Hours to Eternity, especially the nod to Spinal Tap. Maximum +1.
Yes.
Yes. He says, many thanks to you and to Nicholas Briggs for producing this and making it freely available for Thunderbirds Day. On another subject entirely, was it my imagination, or was the newsy news from this week's podcast recorded separately with Richard's reactions edited in from elsewhere? I have no idea what he's talking about.
No, not
a clue.
A clue. No. I mean, if anything ever did happen like that, then it would be probably because one of us had messed it up. I don't know. Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know who that would be.
No idea.
Many thanks, says Phil, for all the Gerry Anderson goodness. Best wishes from Phil Steer. Well, nice to hear from you, Phil. Now, continuing our conversations about toys appearing in Gerry Anderson productions, what about, says Kevin Russell, the Triang Hornby model trains that were used in the whistle stop in scene in Thunderbird 6? The trains delivering the food were hauled by Caledonian Railway's single 422 number 123 and a British Airways XLNER B12 460. Yeah?
Yeah, I'm with you.
So
some letters and numbers there.
Says, incidentally, he says, the B12 at that time came fitted with a chuff-chuff sound that was created by a piece of sandpaper rubbing up against a cam in the tender that was rotated by one of the tender axles. A sound hole in the top of the tender allowed the sound out. I hope this helps, Kevin Russell. Lovely detail, Kevin. Thanks for that.
I had always wondered about how the chuff-chuff's made, and now I know.
Isn't that nice? Chris Dale from Worcester got in touch. So I don't think it's the.
That's not the one.
His Holiness, the Pope of Randomness. Dear all, says Chris, as a small boy in the early 1960s, I had a toy dashboard. The toy, made by, I think it's Reading Playmobil, features in the interior of Stingray.
It does.
It's in the background and may also have been used for the steering gear. Regards from Chris.
Yes, you see those crop up occasionally. Quite a cool toy from that time.
Talking of people cropping up occasionally, hi Jamie and Richard, says Philip Brooks Law. I would like to start by saying how wonderful it was to be able to meet you, Jamie, and some of the people behind the scenes like Chris Thompson at the Comic-Con in Birmingham.
Ah, yes.
He says, I'm a little shy, and you were very busy from what I could see, so I didn't want to keep you for too long, but I'm grateful you took the time to sign my Terrorhawk CD cover, as that means so much to me, as it was my first introduction to Big Finish, so thank you.
Awesome.
Also, says Philip, a new standard has been set with the Blu-ray release of Fireball XL5.
Oh, yes.
The episodes are stunning to look at, the detail is so crystal clear, and is on another level compared to the DVDs, but the extras really make this set. He says, the animation by Chris is really charming, capturing the strange walk of Robert the Robot, along with the audio episode recreating the feel of a classic episode perfectly. If there are more stories for the Fireball crew, I'm in. Everyone played the parts very faithfully, and with the sound effects and music, it wasn't hard to just slip into that series again. But the reproduction of some of the 60s merchandise was a great surprise. It was like a gift that kept on giving. If Stingray and Thunderbirds get the Blu-ray treatment like this, it'll be out of this world.
Oh, wouldn't it just?
Lastly...
Oh, yes.
More? Yes. Although the new audio adventures are great, 5 Star 5 was a lovely surprise. Not having a full cast, I wasn't sure, but once I got it, I couldn't stop listening. Richard's writing really draws you in, easy to follow, and gripped me from start to finish. The music, sound effects, and Robbie Stevens performing everything alone really sold me on this release, as if I was listening to a lost film soundtrack.
Oh,
And
nice.
that's from Philip Brooks Law. Isn't that lovely to hear?
Absolutely. Well, here, and kudos to you and to Robbie Stevens there, I'd say, Dexter. So,
yeah. Well, great fun
stuff
to do as well, and a privilege. Duncan Moss got in touch. Hi, Jamie and Richard. I've seen Zero Population Growth, which was the film we've all been talking about, as it, I think, featured the work of Derek Meddings.
Indeed, yes.
Well, says Duncan, I've seen it on a multi-region DVD, or it could have been a Blu-ray a couple of years ago. The film is low budget, but is nevertheless a good effort. Also working on the film with Derek was art director and production designer Tony Masters, who worked with Brian Johnson on 2001: A Space Odyssey as production designer and won a British Academy Award for his work on that film. Although Tony does not have an Anderson link, his son Dominic worked on the first attempt to make the live-action Thunderbirds movie in the late 1990s. He's recently been supervising art director on Kenneth Branagh's movie Belfast, which has a scene of a little boy dressed in an international rescue uniform, complete with stun gun.
Yes. A few
wonderful?
people have sent me screenshots of that. It's rather lovely.
Right. What goes around comes around. That's incredible. He finishes off by saying, Zero Population Growth is worth seeing. I thought I heard Shane Rimmer's voice over the speaker in one scene, but when at a convention I asked him if it was him, he said he had nothing to do with the movie at all. Keep up the good work, Duncan Boss. Well, that is a surprise, because as we know, dear old Shane Rimmer had lots of fingers in lots of pies, didn't he, over the years?
And it's hard to remember it all, so maybe he did. Maybe he couldn't remember
Maybe he did.
Possibly.
Yeah. True enough. And finally, Roger Woolley has sent us a Wales Comic-Con report saying, Hi, JRC. I'm happy to say I had a great time in Telford this weekend with fellow Podsteron and cosplayer Ian Edwards. The Anderson universe was well represented with Stingray, Thunderbirds, Captain Scarlet and Space 1999 making appearances over the weekend, along with a fantastic aquamphibian made by Ian. I attached some photos from the show, including a dynamic rescue of phones, which has gone down well with everyone. And lastly, an appearance of Commander Shaw with the lovely Naoko Mori. We both have tickets for April. This will be the concert then, I guess. And Ian is willing to display the said aquamphibian if Jamie wishes it. And that's from Roger Woolley.
Oh, that's great to know, Roger. Thank you very much.
Yes. So that got me thinking, things, luckily for us here in the UK and for now, are opening up, and I know there have been a few conventions up and down the country. Have you been to any of them? Let us know. Have you been representing? Have you been flying the flag for Gerry Anderson? And have you bumped into any more Gerry Anderson fans as you've been out on your travels to these various conventions? Let us know. podcast@gerryanderson.com.
Yes, hopefully you have been,
nice.
and hopefully you'll be doing it more and more as time goes on.
Yeah, exactly.
Getting back to it.
Yes.
Brilliant. Richard James.
Yeah.
There is, as usual, some news from the Gerry Anderson newsiverse.
Is there?
Would you like some?
Yes, please.
Here comes a 3-course newsy meal for you.
Yum.
Would you like to see the wine list, sir?
Oh, very good.
Yeah, that wasn't very good Parker
Very
voice,
nice.
but
No, it was
I
lovely.
like to think that Arthur sounded a bit more like that. Anyway, as usual, we've got some Gerry Anderson news for you, and here's your little appetizer. Let's start with some Space 1999 news. The Moonbase Alpha Tech Manual is on its way.
Ooh.
The special edition is being packed as I speak and should be with you if you're in the UK, hopefully later this week, if not very early next. If you're further afield, it may take a little while, but we do hope it'll get to you in time for Christmas. The first wave, the first print run, was sold out on pre-sales because it's been extremely popular. So if you ordered during that initial pre-sale window, then yours will be on the way too. If you missed it, and there's a date on the product page on the website which confirms when it is, but I just don't have it to hand, sorry, then a second print run is on its way too, and will be here early December, and will be on its way to you as soon as possible then. UFO comic anthology is also on its way.
Lovely.
And should be dispatched, I think, next week. So all those publications are coming very soon indeed. Peril in Peru, the book is out. The download version is out. The CD version, which we were so hoping would coincide with the release of the book, hasn't quite made it, but it is coming very, very soon. So if you're waiting for that, that'll be with you too. It's our latest Thunderbird's adventure, an adaptation of the 1960s John Thaden novel, and this one edited and adapted by the Randomiser General himself, Chris Dale.
Oh!
Also, our Space 1999 cosplay uniform tops, the red and purple variants, are in stock and shipping now. If you've pre-ordered, or whether you want to order now in time for Christmas, they are available and shipping. Also, something brand new.
Oh, yes.
Thunderbird's cycling tops. We've done this in partnership with the guys at Hoob, a fantastic cycling and triathlon company. Thunderbirds 1, 2 and 4 available now. Maybe not the best cycling weather, but I'm sure lots of you will be out there cycling if you are lycra-clad, serious cyclists. They look awesome. They're based on the vehicles themselves. Lots of panelling, details that you will see on the models. Now you can become Thunderbirds 1, 2 or 4.
Very nice.
This week, I think on Friday, is Christmas Jumper Day. It's a charity event across quite a few charities. If you haven't yet got your Anderson Christmas jumper fix, then our Thunderbirds and Space 1999 Christmas jumpers are available. If you're in the UK, then you could definitely get them in time for Friday if you order, I'd say by Wednesday at 2 o'clock, fingers crossed. So there you go, there's a little bit of time this week. And finally, Century 21 Tech Talk, the third series, is now all available on the YouTube channel.
Exciting.
youtube.com/Gerry Anderson TV. AC and JC, that's John Coleshaw in this case, done a fantastic job there. John doing his amazing Jeff Tracy. And you can learn all about things like the Sidewinder, the Fireflash, the Pathfinder, the Crowdblogger, and many more. And go back and check out Series 1 and 2 as well, because you're going to love those too. I think, other than the fact that we've wrapped on the documentary, that's exciting news.
Great.
We finished shooting abroad last week, and that is now done. It's fully into post-production. That's Gerry Anderson and Life Uncharted, which comes to BritBox next year on the 14th of April, and other places around the world to be announced in due course. But that now definitely is the end of this week's Gerry Anderson News.
That was the news! Yummy, yummy news!
Yummy, yummy news!
Well, it is, isn't it?
Oh, it's always delicious.
Isn't it just?
Yeah,
Gerry Anderson
delectable.
News. Yeah, we love it.
What else have you got for us for afters? Some sort of written digestive?
Yes, I think you're right. I'm going to head on over to our Facebook group. That's facebook.com/groups/Podsteron.
Well remembered.
Where our Podsterons have been having their usual fun, posting pictures of their merch as it arrives through the post, of their cosplay as they wear it to conventions. They've been holding quizzes and streams and all sorts of exciting stuff. Tom Hodden posted, "This sounds very Anderson," and he attached a report from the Independent newspaper. The report said this: NASA is to slam a spacecraft into an asteroid in a test of whether it will be able to keep humanity safe from a killer object coming to Earth. This week, it will launch the mission that will see the spacecraft attempt to redirect an asteroid as preparation for a time when such a precaution might be needed. It's a worry, isn't it?
But it is Anderson-esque, I'd say. So.
It is, yeah. Pedro Rourke commented, I can see this being a Captain Scarlet plot in which the Mysterons hijack the spacecraft and use it to aim the test asteroid towards Earth. Scarlet then has to pilot a second craft manually to avert disaster. Or something.
Something.
That's great, Peter.
Nice.
Yeah. Steve Rogers has been posting another of his polls. The poll result, have you seen the Children in Need puppet sing-along? And if so, what did you make of it? Garnered the following votes. 56% have seen it and enjoyed it. 36% hadn't seen it. 8% saw it but didn't enjoy it.
Oh, well, that's a shame.
Well, yeah. Can't please all the people all the time, can you?
Oh, no. And I'm sure in an ideal world we would have just had Anderson puppets and nobody else contributing to that. But,
exactly.
At least we got to see Zelda on the electric guitar.
I know, that was great, wasn't it? What a moment. Now, did you know that November the 19th, so, over a couple of weeks ago now, was International Men's Day, Jamie?
I did not know that, no.
No. Well, Alex Patrick posted, which male character from the Anderverse do you admire and or relate to? Nadia Eugene says Scott and Alan person I can relate to. Scott, he's a very caring big brother who would do anything to protect and support his brothers and friends. And Alan, because he's young, and I could see his hot-headed, bratty behaviour is him having insecurities that I could definitely see in myself in that position, although I'm an only child in my family. Hugh Morn says, well, it's got to be Captain Scarlet. His indestructibility has become a metaphor to me, in that even in the direst situations, you can always make it through to the end. And Ed Tipton said, well, Master Spy. I'm fat, bald and incompetent, but I look good in a suit too.
Brilliant. I think that might be my new mantra, actually.
Yes, good, isn't it? And while we're on our Facebook group, Jamie, you know one of our most prolific posters on the Facebook group, of course.
Well, I know a few of them. Which one in particular is this?
Well, there's one in particular who likes to post the odd Quickfire 5.
Is it Tom?
And ever so often.
Yes.
He posts one in for me to read out to you. Are you ready for this week's Quickfire 5?
Can hardly wait.
Right, this is a movie special, Jamie. A lot of Anderson characters have been busy remaking the classics, but unfortunately, we don't have time to see them all, so you must choose wisely. Number 1, would you rather see Tex Tucker in Dirty Harry or Commander Shaw in Hunt for Red October?
Oh, Shaw in Red October for sure. That's great. Love it.
Would you rather see Parker's remake of Gone in 60 Seconds or Joe 90 in the Ipcress File?
What do you reckon? Parker in 60 Seconds.
Yeah, I thought so. Number 3, Zelda in When Harry Met Sally or Jeff Tracy in Some Like It Hot?
Oh, Jeff, but only just.
Yes, Mitch as King Kong or Oink the Seal as Jaws?
Oh, what? Mitch, I suppose, if I have to.
That'd be great, wouldn't it? And finally, number 5, Torchy the Battery Boy in Friday the 13th or Candy and Andy in The Shining? Come on, you got to pick one.
I'm going to go Candy and Andy in The Shining because I think that is amazing. That image of them on the tricycles going down the carpet. Oh, lovely.
Red rum.
Terrifying.
Yeah, fantastic. So there you go. That's this week's Quickfire 5, courtesy of writer, blogger, podcaster Tom Hodden.
Thanks, Tom.
There you go.
Nice.
I love those.
Yeah, that was
brilliant.
An excellent selection. Thank you.
Yes. All for now, but do head on over to Facebook and join in the fun on our Facebook group. It's just a couple of questions to answer, and we'll let you in.
We will indeed, and the more the merrier, because it's such a lovely bunch there.
Yes.
Now, to fill the gap between your little Quickfire 5 jolliness there and the randomiser, I've got part 2 of the interview with Benjamin Field for you.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
Nice, okay.
Continue on from last week, Ben is here to tell you all about what we've been up to, putting together this documentary about Dad's life and career, what inspired him, what drove him, the good, the bad and the ugly in his life, and how those all tie into the shows that you know and love. It's really fascinating. Here is Ben to give you some more hints about that in part 2 of 3. Just on the emotionally charged bit, Ben, we've kind of dealt with the difficulties in terms of logistics and getting interviewees. What about the most difficult emotional things that we've uncovered? What has surprised you or been the most harrowing, do you think?
Harrowing?
Maybe harrowing's too strong a word, but the most impactful.
Well, I mean, it's about how much to give away.
Of course.
I mean, this is the trouble. I think what your dad's mum said to him after the death of Lionel will stay with me. Anecdotally, it will stay with me until the moment that I can no longer remember things.
Yeah.
And I don't really want to say what that is.
No, I think that needs to be told in the documentary, but
it's just horrific.
Yeah.
And for an 11-year-old boy to be told that by their mother is unforgivable. And it shapes that one moment, I think, shapes so much of his future relationships, his relationships that play out on screen. I mean, just horrific.
Yeah. Yeah, a few words that transformed a life for good and bad, I think we should say.
And we very nearly included those words as the title of the documentary.
Yes.
Let's discuss the naming of the documentary, Jamie. So when I pitched the documentary to you, I gave it a name because I just came up with one in sort of 20 seconds because I needed to send something over to you. And I called it The Fab World of Gerry Anderson. And your first reaction to that was...
Oh, God, do we have to use fab or something similar? I think I probably said worse than that, because it is everyone's go-to, let's use FAB, let's use fab. And I instantly thought this doesn't give his life and career the gravitas that it deserves. But then that led us on a journey of 4 months of deciding on the title.
We only had to, right. So we started this work in, I'm going to say beginning of May, May.
Yeah,
something like that was when we started talking. So late May 2021. We then needed to launch the documentary at MIPCOM in October 2021, and I think it was about 3 days before then that we finally agreed on a title, and it took a Zoom call with BritBox, with Abacus, and probably I think there was a live poll, wasn't there, on your Slack feed at Anderson,
inside the company.
And we put together about 8 different titles. And they were all variations on a theme by that point, but there were still probably 8 titles that were floating around that we could have gone with.
Yeah.
So if you're reading this, if you're watching this but reading the title of the documentary and you don't like it, and you think that it could be a bit better, well, I've got something to say to you. I don't care. Because we could have had so many titles for this. And we found it so difficult. And when you watch the documentary, I think you'll probably understand why it's so difficult, because the story that perhaps we all thought we were going to tell couldn't be summed up in one strap line.
Yeah.
And we wanted to grab everyone's attention. And we wanted it to sound a little bit sci-fi, didn't we? We wanted to sound as if... I mean, one of the titles that you came up with, Jamie, was Gerry Anderson From Poverty to Pinewood. But the trouble is that doesn't tell the story.
No.
Because his story wasn't as straightforward as that. Although nice and neat and tied up as that would have been. I'm forgetting now what something. Gerry Anderson, Mr. Future.
The history of Mr. Future.
The history of Mr. Future, that was one.
Untold, Unseen. I mean, there were so many options we went through, but all of them, well, they just felt too dry or too just disconnected from the content, I guess. And some of them felt too dark. And you know, oh God, I mean, it just went on and on and on. Yeah.
So fortunately, we then all agreed there's actually Gerry Anderson, A Life Uncharted. Felt probably
which is true.
I still really like it.
Yeah, absolutely, because it hasn't been charted, it hasn't been explored and explained fully ever, and his life itself, you know, was kind of such a sort of a series of dominoes of terrible things, unfortunate things, bad luck, bad decisions.
It was reactive, wasn't it? His life. It never really felt that he made any. I think he made a couple of proactive choices, and then a lot of reactive decisions. Yeah. And even the things that he thought that he was actually in control of, he probably wasn't, because of his upbringing. You know, the psychology of his childhood could be, you know, really a thesis or, you know, dissertation.
Yeah. And he grew up in an era when you didn't talk about your emotions and you didn't self-examine and that kind of thing. So
he did a very good job of that, didn't he?
Absolutely.
He did a very good job of never exploring an emotion.
Yeah. I mean, we've in our tapes and stuff, he's even asked directly, do you think this could have influenced that? Oh no, I really don't think so, but I've never thought about it, and I never will, was the message, really.
Well, because it probably would have been too painful.
Well, yeah, that's it. Now we are making this all sound very very dark and dour and sad. But there are funny bits. I think his sense of humour is something that has come up repeatedly.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, his sense of humour was very dry, from what we can tell.
Oh yes.
We're still not sure whether or not he actually locked anybody in at Islet Park. But we're learning, That's a story that may or may not make it into the documentary if I can find a way of weaseling it in.
And if it doesn't, then you'll have to live with that mystery forever.
Yes, absolutely. But no, he was a great prankster. I think John and Jean Taylor, who we interviewed first. I mean, John Taylor is now 100, and he speaks very fondly of your dad. I mean, he was full of the joys at the point that we were talking to him.
Yeah.
So no, lots of humour, or lots of his humour makes its way in. The fact that he used to talk to himself in a house full of women. He used to invent a male friend that he could go to dinner with. So if you're all sat at Chinese restaurants, he did love a Chinese restaurant.
Oh, we did indeed.
We did, which so do I, incidentally. But yes, he would invent was it a mate called Fred that he'd speak to, just so that he'd have a male companion to talk to in the house. Bless him.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is humour, and we're injecting a lot of humour into it. A lot of that is probably going to end up being visual.
Yeah.
But it's just a fascinating story how you can go from where he went from. That's not a sentence. Where he started from.
Yeah.
To where he ended up, and back again, and back again. I mean, he's like a yo-yo. It's incredible. Yeah, it's absolutely incredible. So no, I'm very much enjoying the process.
Which I'm very much looking forward to. There's some fascinating stuff that I've remembered or even learned for the first time, and threads that we've pulled together that previously would have been unconnected. So there's lots of cool stuff there.
Well, it's true. Some of the stuff you were telling me about some of his experiences doesn't seem the right word, but his time living with dementia. Some of his anti-Semitic experiences that he'd had that you'd never really put two and two together to sort of fully explore or understand, and some of those things are now coming out in the documentary. So there's a lot of raw emotion. There's that word emotion again, that's coming out for the first time. I mean, it feels from this side. I feel greatly honoured to sort of almost understand your dad as much as you do to a degree. I'm not suggesting that I know him as well as you do. Of course I don't. But to be on the same journey that you are, and indeed, you it's just a joy.
Yeah.
And to a lesser degree, purely because Linda hasn't wanted to sort of be as vocal so far.
Yeah.
About her experiences.
Yeah.
It's very humbling to sort of go on that journey with you and sort of understand him, and it's very cool.
Probably understand him better than he understood himself, I think, which is a very strange thing to experience. But maybe that's the case for all of us.
I mean, part of that, then, I'm going to cut across you because I feel otherwise we're going to move away. I think one of the bigger things that I've really enjoyed doing is watching all your old home movies from when you were a child.
Oh, you are.
I think
fine. That's fine. I was saying we should bring some levity to this chat, and that maybe is the way to do it. Yeah. So
I think it definitely is. So let's discuss some home movies that I've watched of Jamie.
Yeah. Okay.
There's a picture of Jamie having a poo next to a Rolls Royce.
It's actually a wee, just for clarity here.
That's
I have it on good authority.
I should also comment that Jamie looked about 5. He wasn't like 21 and having.
I was 16 months old, Ben. So it's not a recent image.
So you say.
But I should say that we obviously home movies and stuff are a really important and interesting part of people's lives. If you get that personal insight. Now, unfortunately for us.
Oh, you thought you'd start this on a downer, did you? I thought I'd start it on the up and then
we're going back down. No, we're going to go up. But when he was about 2 or 3 years before he died, he had a bit of a clear out. He just decided he wanted to get rid of all the old stuff, which is something he used to do in his life anyway. And he cleared out almost all of our family photos and home movies and all that sort of stuff. Now, I managed to rescue 2 tapes, which thankfully, but covers three different holidays.
Okay.
Which I managed to keep and found for this documentary, which got transferred. So that was nice to have. And actually, there were some really lovely moments in there.
Especially if you're learning to water ski.
Including 45 minutes of me learning to water ski and failing to water ski for even a second.
I have watched you fail to water ski for 22 and a half minutes. and the level of desperation in your poor father's voice as he watched you try and stand up with, keep your legs straight, keep your legs straight, he's down again. Yeah, keep your legs straight, no, he's down again. Yeah. Keep your legs straight. And then guess what? He fell over again. And normally on his face, which is just the most beautiful thing to watch in slightly overexposed footage, for a wonderful, for a wonderful filmmaker and TV producer and working in pictures, as your dad says frequently. He was a shocking cameraman on that boat.
Terrible.
I mean, you're barely in frame for any of it.
Yeah.
I mean, more often than not, I'm staring at his own legs. I mean, it's just...
He was very good at pressing the record button when he meant to
turn it off.
To stop it. Yes, then we'd get several minutes of knees.
And I think we're being generous if we say knees.
Yeah, fair enough. It was not that impressive, unfortunately. But nice to have that footage.
Oh, it's so nice to have. And there's some lovely footage of your dad and your mum.
Yeah.
In Portugal and sort of going around fish markets and things, which sounds like slightly weird things to suggest. And then there's lovely stuff of visiting temples and things in are you in Thailand, I think?
It's Thailand, yeah.
So there's some really warm moments where, because I mean, he spent so much of his life at work or working, and in fact, he's on record of saying that holidays were a distraction.
Yeah,
certainly in the early years. But I think that changed over time. I think by the time that he was into his third marriage, which again he wasn't proud of the fact that he had 2 failed marriages. I think by the time that he'd sort of settled, might be the right word, into that third marriage with your mum, he just seems so much more comfortable being able to take a holiday. So I mean, there's stories of him even abandoning his wedding night to go and film elements of Supercar. And you just don't. You get the impression on those holiday and those home movies that wasn't quite the same person.
Yeah,
he was still quite fraught. Don't kick me in the back, Jamie. Jamie, move your knees out of my back. Stop kicking me, Jamie. I'm filming things. Jamie, stop kicking me. That's and I don't think you were actually kicking him. I think you were just existing, which I think is probably.
He was getting quite grumpy on that trip. Yeah,
was quite. Yeah. But there is just, it's so lovely to see him smile and relax and enjoy those holiday moments. So that it was family time. I just think that's so great to see.
Yeah, and the desire for family, I think, is something which he tries for and fails in his own life until quite late on, really, in many ways, because of broken relationships and perhaps making the wrong personal choice. But it often comes out in his work, producing those families, and stuff like that, which we will delve into. I don't want to give away too much in this chat.
No.
But what I do want to ask you about, Ben, because it's possibly a contentious issue for some.
A contentious issue? But we always shy away from contention, Jamie.
Yeah, not here. As you'll discover next year. But no, the use of deepfake.
Yes.
So why are we using deepfake? How are we using deepfake? And how are we making it not creepy and uncanny valley-like?
Wait, hang on. We're making it not creepy?
We're not making it creepy.
I've been going down the wrong approach entirely. I thought that's exactly what we were trying to do. Damn it.
As you saw on social media, people saying, oh, no, this sounds really weird and I don't like the idea of this. This is going to be horrible. Very few voices, I should add, but still people concerned that somehow.
I think you're downplaying. I mean, I when we launched, the BritBox announcement went out, and I've got to say, I think the majority of people were very concerned about the idea of deepfake. And I have very strong opinions on deepfake. I would go so far as to say that I think I'm very much against deepfake generally, because I think it raises real ethical conundrums and moral questions that really do need addressing. Whether or not it is right to reanimate somebody after their death. When they have no say over whether or not whether their image is being used in this way, I think causes real problems, and probably one that I would say no, I don't think you should ever do that. When so in Gladiator, for instance, when Oliver Reed was reanimated so that they could finish Gladiators because he died mid-filming. There was a question there about whether or not they should do that and how they did it. And as a technical piece of work, it was a marvel. It's absolutely incredible. And I think it was okay in that circumstance to do that because Oliver Reed had signed up for the picture, and so he'd already agreed that his image was going to be used in it. If we were doing a documentary where we were making your dad do things and say things that he'd never said, and I don't even mean contentious things. I just mean anything that he had never done or had never said. Yeah, I think I would be against doing it, and it was my idea to do the deepfake. I think that's fair to suggest. I mean, our process on this has been largely collaborative. But you suggested to me that there was around about 25 hours of audio archive that had never been sort of given out in public before, never been heard in public before. And that, the more we listened to it, the more we realized that this was a very unique perspective on a life uncharted.
Yes, indeed.
And so this was about the time that deepfake Tom Cruise came out on TikTok. And I sent it over to you and said, how do you feel about bringing back your dead dad?
I'm sure you've said it again more sensitively than that at the time.
No, do you know what? I'm pretty sure I didn't.
Okay,
because that's probably the relationship that we have. and I think we had that relationship from day one, after you told me about the rule that you had of people that you worked.
Don't work with difficult, selfish, awkward people, but I have a word which summarizes that, which I'm not going to repeat on this podcast.
No, that's right. No, that's absolutely very, very correct for you not to do that. So no, we've had quite an open relationship from day one. And so I suggested, let's have a look at bringing your dad on screen using deepfake technology, and you were very receptive to that.
Yeah, because my instant reaction is he would have loved it because he was always at the forefront of technology.
Absolutely. So it's new tech, and Gerry would have embraced that very, very quickly, we think. And we have lots of experience of him having done so in the past, so we have no reason to think that he wouldn't be doing it now.
Yeah.
And also, we're only getting a visualization of things that he had already said. Yeah. So, I mean, there becomes a very valid question. Well, if in that case, why don't you just use the audio then? Why do you need to bring in the visual? And the answer to that I've got is because it's visually entertaining, and we are in the entertainment industry. And if we were working in radio, then yeah, great, we'd just do it as audio. But we're not. We are in entertainment. Your father was in entertainment, and if we're in this industry, I think we have a duty to always try and be the most entertaining that we can be. And I think that this does that job very well for us. And I don't think it hurts anybody for us to do it. Certainly, everybody on your side, from the Anderson side, nobody has an issue with what we're doing. And everybody has said what a very interesting and clever technique to use. And so if everybody who is related to Gerry thinks that it's okay, then I don't think anybody else has a leg to stand on when it comes to criticising whether or not we should be using this to deepfake. But that's not to say that I don't understand people's concerns, but everybody who has discussed this with me personally and professionally have all seen that this is actually a particularly worthy use of deepfake and technology. And it's very exciting because I think that the process that we've had to go through in order to deliver a deepfake, because we've now only in the last 3 days, I think it's fair to say, Jamie, yes?
Yep.
Only in the last 3 days have we got a deepfake version of your dad that is accurate and is usable. And it's very, very exciting.
It is.
And I don't think we've done anything like it before. And the process has been fascinating.
Yeah. Can I just read the text message that Mark Willard sent me when I sent him that first clip?
Of course. Do you need to reference who Mark Willard was for those people that don't know?
Most Podsterons will know, but Mark worked with Dad for 30 years, from Terrorhawk through to New Captain Scarlet, directing many episodes of New Captain Scarlet, and they were long-time collaborators and friends. And Mark has been a very valuable interviewee who actually turns out knew of Dad and, was in proximity to him even before they started working together, when Mark was a mail boy at Pinewood, passing around the post and stuff. But I sent Mark the deepfake and he said, "Christ, Jamie, that is amazing. Just like him. If you hadn't told me, I would never have known it was a fake. Very lovely to hear his words and see him speaking in this way." And if you generate that reaction from someone that knew him, then I think we're on the right track. And it is amazing.
It's really very special. Do we, given the fact that your dad was very technical and technically minded, shall we discuss the process that we've had to go through in order to deliver that deepfake, in order to create it? Do we want to discuss that?
I think
Rolly Hyde.
I think a not too technical overview would be a good way to start. So, just to say, this deepfake has its roots, its base is in a real person doing it, and I don't just mean taking Dad's images and footage to create this. There is a body double, a lip sync body double, who is the base of all the footage, and that man is Rolly Hyde. And Rolly, we cast Rolly because he looked quite similar to Dad, and that gives a good base for the deepfake footage to be created from. And Rolly was willing to lip sync repeatedly to 57.
Well, you said, hang on. I think we need to sort of just backtrack slightly on this one. When we auditioned Rolly, so we auditioned 4 or 5 people for this. When we auditioned Rolly, we did so telling him that we were going to use approximately 10 minutes worth of deepfake material across 90 minutes of documentary. So that's what he signed up for, because that's what we said we were going to ask him to do, was learn and lip sync to 10 minutes of Gerry archive audio. And then we went through the tapes.
Well, one more part next week, a few more reflections and thoughts and little hints about what's to come. Now, if you'd like to follow Ben on Twitter, can I heartily recommend that you do? Because Ben constantly gives away little behind-the-scenes things, which I didn't think I was allowed to give away, but he's using his director's prerogative to do what the hell he likes. So you can follow him at Benjamin_Field on Twitter and Instagram, and there he posts behind-the-scenes stuff, embarrassing pictures of me and other related things.
Lovely. Oh, we look forward to that. Now, without giving anything away, because I know you can't, Jamie, was there a standout moment out of all the filming and the interviews that you did for this documentary in particular?
I mean, I think the journey in the roles has been very, very special, and I can't really talk about where that ends.
No. Yeah.
Because that's part of the story.
Yes.
But really, again, I'm not going to give away too much, but at the end of most interviews, Ben asked a single question, which would put our interviewee on the spot, and got some really lovely and very touching responses. I don't know if they'll all make it into the edit. I'm hoping some of them will, but there were just some very, very lovely moments.
Wonderful.
And to be present for all of those was rather special. But also, a couple of interviewees who have never spoken before, and hearing their stories and finding some similarities with my own experience growing up with Dad, being reminded of things that I'd forgotten about and I didn't even know about in some cases. It's really, really fascinating stuff. So on a personal level, those bits were great too.
Great. That's fantastic. I'm so looking forward to seeing that. Wonderful. Now, in the meantime, you are, of course, listening to the Gerry Anderson podcast. You know that you can subscribe to us on whichever platform you're listening to us on. You know also that you can leave a nice rating and a review for us to tell the world what you think of us. And, of course, you know that you can post about us on all your social profiles so everyone knows what you're listening to. So why don't you do just that right now?
Exactly. If you know all those things, then why haven't you done them? What's wrong with you? Come on, chop, chop.
Meanwhile, over on Twitter, Simon has hashtagged the Gerry Anderson podcast saying, "Finally, I've got time to listen to the podcast. I've still got my hat from MCM Birmingham. Oh, and a great panel with Jamie Anderson."
Oh, lovely.
Nice.
Well, and Nicholas Briggs and Chris Thompson, I think you'll find.
Well, he doesn't mention either of those.
Well, I mention them now because they were excellent.
Fair enough. Now, the Gerry Anderson TV official Twitter account tweeted this week, "What have Green, Blue and Scarlet discovered today? Wrong answers only." Andy Drews said, "The questionable adventures of Joe 90.
Nice.
Yes, they're all questionable, aren't they? Foxification says Captain Pink is getting out of a taxi with a PlayStation 5 after telling the lads he was going to hold out and wait till they could all get one at the same time. Kelly Haycock says, have they left the security tags on the front of their uniforms and now the alarms are going off in the store?
Obviously,
yeah. Finally, Commander Machine said, have they just found out that they're being rebooted using all the latest special effects? Oh, it's true, isn't it? No one ever asked the puppets, did they?
No, never once.
What would they have thought, I wonder?
Not a lot.
No, sorry. There we are. So, don't forget, you can hashtag us, hashtag Gerry Anderson Podcast. On Twitter, you can tag me, I'm Richard James. No, that's not right at all. You can tag me, Richard N. James. I'm Jamie Anderson.
Yes.
And he's Chris Dalek. There you go.
Yes. Although you might as well be called @Grumpy Chris today because he has just given us death stares the whole way through this recording.
The face on him. All right, Your Holiness.
Yeah, smacked bottom right there.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's what I feel like he's threatening anyway. So it's probably time that we allowed Chris to rise from his chair and to take part in his usual randomiser goodness. Should we let him do that?
Yeah, I think we ought to.
Okay. Oh,
hello.
That was the dog growling, not Chris. But I wouldn't be surprised if he had growled like that. Yeah. All right. Sorry, Chris. Here he comes with his randomiser.
Please accept these gifts as peace tokens from the people of Kaldor.
Oh, gosh, that's lovely. My own, egg. Well, it is nearly Christmas and all. Thank you very much, Captain Xantor.
You represent Earth authority.
Well, in a manner of speaking, although my friend Marina here is actually much more sensible.
Your beauty would be greatly enhanced by suspended animation.
Oh, gosh, well, thank you. Oh, right, yes, sorry, you were talking to her. Yes, well, although she's by far the more sensible one, I'm actually the only one of the two of us who can speak, so,
I understand your position. You need our cooperation.
Well, yes, but only for a moment.
There remains only one question to be decided.
Exactly. Which episode will I be watching today? Well, if you'd like to press the button for us.
We are grateful. Random variations.
This is the hard part, of course, the waiting.
Time will pass like a dream.
Yes, and in no time at all, the machine gives us a printout with the name of a random Gerry Anderson episode on it.
It was so programmed. How could it do otherwise?
Indeed. Well, it's the Protectors today.
We overestimated your computer's ability to analyze. It does not seem to have understood.
Yes, still, never mind. It's just one more Protectors episode out of, however many are left.
The alternative is death.
Well, you certainly are a Christopher Lee character, aren't you?
Oh, yes.
Okay then, here's 1 and 1 makes 1.
It is a tragedy.
Well, who knows, maybe it'll be okay.
We do not require judicial revenge.
That's good to know. So, welcome back to The Protectors on the Randomiser.
Suki! Hi.
And Suki's not here, but this lady is. This is
I hope you don't mind.
an actress named Georgia Brown.
Let me freshen it up.
Who I believe returned in the second series in the episode Borderline.
Nice mood. Nice apartment.
Star Trek fans may also remember her as Worf's mother in a couple of episodes of The Next Generation.
Do you believe first reactions are always the best?
But she's let herself into Harry Rule's apartment, and more than that, she's let herself into the drinks cabinet. That very cool-looking drinks cabinet that they keep in the Globe.
You know you have me at a slight disadvantage.
Making kissy time. All sorts of kissy. So this seems like some kind of distraction, I would assume.
Much.
I don't remember the plot of this one, I'm afraid. I saw the title come up and I thought, oh, first season. And then I thought, what? What even is this story? I don't remember.
What are you doing here?
So it's a voyage of discovery for all of us, really, because let's be honest, how many of you out there have actually seen 1 and 1 makes 1?
Why?
It's always been high on my list of things to watch, I know that.
Well, you can't win them all.
Will you stop looking for Bennett?
Negative. Sorry.
Oh, so we're looking for Bennett.
There's something you ought to know. There's a gun at the back of your neck.
Oh, that is important to know. Yeah, she's brought a couple of goons with her. Oh! Well, that's no good.
Forget about Bennett. He's dead.
Oh, not Bennett. So we're back from the opening titles, and if you've had time to process the fact that Bennett is dead, oh dear. Written by Jesse and Pat Lasky. Not a pair of names I recognise, but...
Interesting evening.
Mm-hmm. What did Paul tell you?
Why, it won't be easy to find Bennett.
They got him?
Yes. They're holding him at the house in the Rue de l'Église. Bit difficult to get on the guest list.
This is something I find quite funny with some ITC shows, and I've been watching The Persuaders recently, which I've really enjoyed. And when you have this back projection shots of people in cars, sometimes the footage is at a slightly wonky angle compared to the actual car with our characters in. So that's a shot there quite clearly that Harry and the Contessa are driving their car sort of sideways up the road.
Oh, they're probably interrogating him now.
We are going to Paris. We've got to go back to
Delicate.
Harry's place and smoke cigars for a while first.
Indians would have kept us one in the family.
Well, I need a new face if anything goes. Hey, easy, Suki.
Suki's giving Harry one of those back massages where you walk up and down on the person's back.
Hello. Look, we want you to get a...
Don't ask me to give you one of those, you will die.
Are they holding him? Well, it won't be easy, but I do have a contact. Right.
So that guy with a fabulous moustache has a contact. He's going to get things moving for us. Meanwhile...
Assigned to take Bennett's place for a week, a month, however long it would take.
It's Michael Gough, who... I think this is his only Anderson appearance, which is a shame because everybody loves Michael Gough, and he's a very good actor.
We will go through it once more.
But he is interrogating...
I am here to help you find your memory.
A chap who seems to have lost his memory, played by Neil McCallum, who was a occasional Supermarionation voice artist. He was in Thunderbirds Are Go, playing someone on the Zero X crew. Who's on the Zero X crew? Let me remember their names. It's not Paul Travers, he's not Greg Martin, he's not Dr. Grant.
Ought to talk like him.
So he's the other one on the Zero X crew.
And
whoever the other one on the Zero X crew is, he's not Brad Newman either, because that was Bob Monkhouse.
To make you look like him.
Whoever's name I've forgotten. He was the scientist, wasn't he? Dr. Ray Pierce, that's the character's name. He was Ray Pierce in Thunderbirds Are Go, and he was also in 4 or 5 episodes of Captain Scarlet, never credited.
If you refuse to call...
So it's nice to see him back again. Yeah, he was in Winged Assassin as the DT-19 captain. He was a policeman in Big Ben Strikes Again. He was security chief...
What progress?
Rayner in Expo 2068 and Professor Carney in Codename Europa.
Is it possible he really thinks he's Bennett?
It's possible. Personality transference, the result of a minor embolism caused by the bullet wound.
But here our baddies are in France.
Once more.
They've got this chap.
You were supposed to memorize everything that Bennett knew before you killed him. And you did kill Bennett.
But he wounded you in the head.
Okay.
And because of this you suffered. Loss of memory.
But is this true?
Fusion.
Or are they trying to trick him? Who knows? And frankly, who cares? Because this is a very long scene to spend with characters that we don't know.
This will restore Koznev's memory.
Oh.
He will recall all he learned from Ben.
The biggest needle in the world.
And he would tell us quite willingly.
I'm not Kosnev. I'm Bennett. I killed Kosnev. I'm Bennett. I killed Kosnev. I'm Bennett. I killed Kosnev. I'm Bennett.
So this chap thinks he is Bennett. The baddies are trying to tell him that he is their man, Koznev.
Nothing else to do?
What?
We should sell him.
The protectors are hoping that he is Bennett.
Nice candlelit dinner on a terrace somewhere, very romantic.
As they plot another
play a violin
luxury meal on the continent, flying out to France.
Well, for you it's an occupational hazard.
And of course they're drinking and smoking on the flight.
Arriverons à Orly dans 5 minutes.
Paul, why are you flying the plane?
200 francs? It must be real.
Yeah, you do occasionally hear Tony Anholt picking up slightly small bits of extra work doing French voiceovers in this show from time to time, and that was one of them.
Huh? Hello, how are you?
And there he is in person.
You look like a package store from the Via Veneto.
I hope you've arranged a Sonne Lumiere for us.
Yeah, without too many fireworks.
Well, as a matter of fact, I was planning a tour of a certain house. Interested?
Vastly.
How about coffee? Why not?
Yay.
There are 3 entrances, all well guarded.
How well?
Well, muscle boys, various members of the staff, you know. But I've had a word with Janos.
He's here already?
You said it was urgent. He hasn't been sitting around.
Does he know where they're...
No, Janos, he's a good guy. Is Janos a character we've seen before? There were several semi-regular protectors, and I can't remember if that is a guy we've seen before in another episode or not.
Not a chance.
I don't think so.
Why don't we just try the front door?
But it could be, because he has a fairly fabulous moustache. Anyway, we are planning, I think, to rescue Bennett/Koznev/Neil McCallum. But we need a clever plan to do this.
Good afternoon. I have an appointment with the head of the household.
And just marching in and saying that you own the place seems to do...
Purchased a painting which I intend to deliver. You have only to look outside. It's in the van.
Van? Oh, Fist! Ah. Well, that was easy enough to get into. Just act... very important. Oh, that's Michael Goth getting punched in the stomach. So we're 2 down, and we haven't even made it to the staircase yet. We're doing quite well here. Ooh, 2 more. Let's see how Harry and Paul handle this. 1 is down. Oh, there's another guy appeared from nowhere. He's been sent over the staircase railings. The Contessa can't find Koznev / Bennett. Don't tell us we've beaten up all these people for nothing.
You're dead.
Oh. And by dead he means he's locked them in the room. Will they escape from the locked room? Well, the music is suggesting that not only will they escape, they will escape with great panache. There are bars on the windows, but the Contessa is undoing the laces from her boots. Harry, meanwhile, has swiped a cigarette butt from an ashtray. I remember that is an important part of the plot. We will return to that later. We will find out the story, the reason why he has done that. Meanwhile, we have plugged a piece of metal into a wall outlet. We're now connecting the Contessa's laces to it. In the heel of her shoe is a something. I'm not a super secret spy, guys, so you'll have to bear with me while I figure out what they're doing here. Oh, do you know what she's got concealed in her heel? It's a miniature acetylene torch, powered by her bootlaces. Good thing there was an electrical socket right there by the window where they need to be cutting the bars. This is amazing. They're working so well in unison. Well, not unison, all three of them working so well together. It's like instantly they know, right, what we're going to do here. You make an acetylene torch out of my boots, and you pull down the curtains and start making a rope to help us get down to ground level. Wow. This is why they're the best of the best. Oh. And having made one cut, Harry is able to just pull the bar out of the way.
We keep them upstairs until you get here.
Unless they have an acetylene torch in their shoes. But, you know.
No doubt about who they are.
That's not going to happen.
I go to the clinic now.
Ah, there's a clinic involved here. This is the embassy. He's off to the clinic. And... Oh, so they're not even going to try to escape through the window. They're just going to make it seem like they escaped through the window, thus luring in the two of the goons for more punching. Wow. I was going to say they probably couldn't have escaped through that relatively small gap they made in the bars. Which means the Contessa is now leaving with no shoes on. Oh! Don't know who you were, but Harry's just shot you. Could have been the cook. Could have been the butler. Either way, Harry Rule has no time for you. So, having stormed the embassy and failed, A, because we got caught, and B, because the guy we were looking for wasn't there to begin with, we have escaped. Thank goodness. What's next on our plans? Well, another guy seems to be leaving the embassy now, but luckily, Janos and his fabulous moustache are keeping tabs on them as they walk along a river thingy. Janos is making a report, but we can't hear it because we're not privy to that information. Harry has now taken up the pursuit of guy that I don't know who it is yet. It's a nice shot of Harry with the Eiffel Tower framed behind him there. And our man has now just walked past Paul, who is pretending to be a homeless chap sitting on the floor. And we've now ambushed our man.
Let's take a walk over to the edge. Look at the water.
Before we throw you in it.
Kind of a historic place, huh? What do you want? You know what I want.
Who are you?
Where did they move that guy they had in the house?
Oh. So is this just a random guy that works there?
Saint Luc Clinic.
Oh. Well, that was an intense interrogation, but they got the information out of him eventually. Meanwhile, at the clinic... Hey, I recognise that sound effect from somewhere.
You are in Montreal, my friend.
It's a... Oh, it's a computer console, the kind you might have seen in UFO. A sort of medical monitor, really.
Kozhnev, you have been specially trained. Your mission to contact Bennett, kill him, and replace him.
Wow.
Ready? Ready.
For what?
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Are they breaking up? Oh! Oh dear. I wasn't expecting that. Oh. No blood? No blood. Oh! Now there's blood. Have I missed something?
How are you? You tell me. Good.
Oh, I see. They're trying to make him look like he's been in a car crash. They're dumping his body on the road so that he can be taken to the clinic. Good old Paul for volunteering to be punched repeatedly in the face. It's all part of the job. But got to say that as the ambulance appears on the scene, he doesn't look that hurt. Oh, they're not trying to suggest he was in a car crash. It was a motorbike crash they're trying to fake here. But that's it. He's loaded into the ambulance.
Where are you taking him?
À la clinique Saint-Luc, monsieur.
Well, what would he have done if they'd said, we're taking him to not the clinic that you want to go to, Harry Rule? Harry Rule would have been in trouble then.
What did you learn, Cosner?
He's got a gun in his hand. But I fire first. From my pocket. And blood in my eyes.
Cosner, what did you learn?
Cosner is dead.
He's almost ready to speak.
He's been speaking for quite a while. Still, nearly there. Yes, this chap, by the way, I think I waffled over it, but he's a Canadian intelligence agent, I think. I'm not entirely sure who these people are working for, the baddies, but hey, here's a face I recognise from all sorts of ITC things.
Boucher might have been quite serious, but you will be glad to hear that the X-rays are clear.
I can't remember his name, but he's one of those, oh hey, it's that guy. He's a good, reliable, familiar face in these things.
I have a couple of friends who'd like to visit me this afternoon.
Of course. Just give their names to reception.
They somehow contacted me even before I had my accident. They said, Paul, if you ever have a motorbike crash...
Security?
Let us come and see you.
As you probably know, this is a psychiatric clinic. We have to be careful.
Oh, yes, of course. I haven't yet thanked you, Doctor, for your treatment.
Oh, please. A road accident makes a welcome break from manic depressions and schizophrenics. Well, I must be getting on.
Oh, Doctor, could we skip the lock on the door?
Oh, sorry. Force of habit.
Oh, it's a nice, friendly doctor. He enjoys dealing with road traffic accidents. They make a nice change. Oh. Who's he phoning, though?
Boucher is expecting visitors this afternoon. Room 27.
Oh, maybe he wasn't as nice as I thought he was. Naughty doctor. Anyway, Harry, the Contessa, and Janos have turned up to bring flowers. Contessa has put a dark wig on. Harry has put a flat cap on and dark glasses.
Bonjour, mademoiselle. I am Monsieur Montgomery Plums. This is Madame Leclerc. We are looking for Monsieur Paul Boucher.
Monsieur Plums.
Monsieur Plum.
Monsieur Plums. I like that name.
The observation ward, room 27.
Merci.
Oh, and the nurse is in on the thing as well. There's nobody to be trusted at this clinic. Here we have a wheelchair. Who are we going to be bringing out in this wheelchair?
Bennett's here, all right. Private suite.
Where?
Left out of this door. First door on the right.
How well guarded?
It's hard to say. Certainly be around, but it could be anyone. This doctor is a woman, not on the staff here, so she's bound to be one of them. There's no time to lose, I'd say.
Okay. How do you know everything, considering you've been confined to a hospital bed pretending to be injured? Well, they've loaded Paul onto a gurney. They're going to wheel him out. But as they are wheeling him out, someone else is being put into a wheelchair.
Hold it.
Right. We're now in the room with Bennett / Kosnev and Dr. Lady.
Who are you? What do you want?
Bennett.
So who's this in the wheelchair if not Bennett?
You're making a big mistake.
We'll risk that and take him anyway.
You won't get as far as the end of the corridor.
Oh. Knockout gas. Very useful. Don't remember her using that too often. Anyway, we've now got Kosnev on a gurney. We're now leading him out into the hall. But who is this figure in the wheelchair that they've been building up to? It's Michael Gough pretending to be Bennett so that he can shoot Harry. Harry shot him, Contessa shot a goon, and... Oh my goodness! Oh! Ouch! Oh my goodness. Okay, right, so Michael Gough's character got shot. His wheelchair obviously got knocked backwards. He went straight through a pair of double doors and down a staircase. Oh, and that looked very, very genuinely painful. I winced when I saw the stuntman's neck sort of get crushed on landing. And I would imagine, I have no experience of stunts obviously, but I would imagine that falling downstairs in a wheelchair is not an easy thing to pull off, because wheelchairs would tend to have a mind of their own. Anyway, it's the end of the story, and we are paying a visit now to Napoleon's tomb, because when you played Napoleon's solo on The Man from U.N.C.L.E., and Man from U.N.C.L.E. did an episode all about Napoleon's tomb, but Robert Vaughan didn't film there. He can film there now for no real reason.
You're forgetting delusions of grandeur. Forget them.
And here's where it's all going to be explained.
What do you mean? That the unpleasant lady doctor was right. The man we tried so hard to rescue is Kosnev.
So all this was pointless.
Yeah, I know.
Yep.
Well, think of the story you'll have to tell our
The guy we tried to save is dead. We've got an enemy agent.
When did you find out?
And Harry already knew.
It's kind of a habit left over from my lean days. That cigarette I swiped from the house has Konev's prints on it, and as you say, they don't lie.
See, I told
Might
you.
have mentioned it.
Well, I forgot you smoked.
Aha. So, all of this was pointless. We've got the wrong man. The right man is dead. We're ending on a note of this is quite happy. But yeah, that was 1 and 1 makes 1, and quite an intricately plotted episode of The Protectors there. Despite me sounding like I was struggling to comprehend what was going on, I actually think that was fairly well plotted. But again, we have that ending where we don't really know what's going on until the very last moment, and when we find out, it's so disappointing. So I would say actually that's a fairly satisfying episode of The Protectors with some good moments, but kind of let down by a slightly lackluster ending, really.
Oh, well. That's what grumpy button pressing gets you, The Protectors.
That's right.
Yeah, maybe give us a smile next week, Chris. Yeah, that will teach you.
Don't crack your face.
Poor Chris. Okay, well, thank you, Chris, anyway, despite your pre-randomised grumpiness. Now you look slightly happier, maybe? Probably not.
He does a bit, doesn't he? Yeah, to be fair.
Anyway, there we are. Richard James, any more from around the universe from you?
Well, no, I have no more, because I've emptied the mail sack. I've visited Facebook, and I've even had a little peek at Twitter. There is nothing more to say.
Phew. Well, that's good, because we've all got things to be doing. So let's wrap this one up and let our lovely Podsterons go. You sound like you're a bit chilly there as well. So.
I certainly am. I can't wait for the heating to come on.
You poor thing. All right, well, look, you go and get warm.
Thanks.
And you, Podsteron. Have a lovely day. Thank you for listening in. It's podcast@gerryanderson.com for any thoughts or questions or whatever. And until next week in Pod 183, we bid you a lovely week, and we'll be in your ears next time. How's about that?
See you then.
Bye.
Bye.
Stage 1 complete.
Let's go.
Is green.
Why don't you put a sleeping bag in your booth? Oh no, it'll be all slidey, creasy, squeaky,
yes,
scratchy,
I can't do
won't
that.
it? What could you? A hot water bottle?
Well, I beg your pardon. I think the thing is, now, actually, in my booth here, I've got some of those, those foam ridged tiles around the place to dampen the scent.
Yeah.
But I've also, from the ceiling, I've got a duvet actually hanging down the walls.
Ah, so I could.
Maybe I could sort of commandeer that a bit and just wrap it around. Because it seems to be getting colder and colder in here week by week at the moment.
Oh, dear. Well, you need to do something about that, don't you?
Well, I need a nice Space 1999 Christmas jumper, don't I?
Well, I agree, but I fear you've been offered one in the past and you rejected it.
That's true. That's because I'm very happy with my Thunderbirds jumper that I think I got a couple of years ago now.
You did, yes. I think 2019? 19, it would have been 19.
I think it was, yeah. That's right, yes. No, that'll do me.
Gosh, okay, fine. Well, you should be wearing that in that case. That would be helpful.
Now, actually, while we're on the subject of Christmas, what do you want this year?
Oh, I've got
world peace.
I've got everything I could possibly need personally. So,
have you?
Yeah. So all I want is to know that you're warm and cozy in your lovely booth.
Yeah.
How's that?
I'm all right, thanks. Yeah, I'm fine. But I noticed you haven't asked me what.
Oh, sorry. And Richard James, what do you want this year for Christmas?
Space 1999 Comlock, please.
Unfortunately, we're fresh out of Comlocks, but
curses!
I'll see what I can rustle up for you. Do you get that?
Thanks.
That was a Space 1999 joke.
Yes,
Jonathan Russell.
That's very good.
Yeah,
Jack
wasted
Russell.
on you. Okay, well, have a great week anyway.
Thanks.
Cheers, bye.
Bye.
You have been listening to the Gerry Anderson Podcast. Wasn't it fun?
You have been listening to an Anderson Entertainment production.